Hello and welcome to the A-Form Show. My name is Alan George and thank you very much for tuning in. Each week, we sit across from thought leaders and change makers in the architecture and design space of the GCC. We dive deep into their experiences, both professionally and personally, and share their valuable insight as to what makes them tick. Our goal is to add value to your day and help you navigate your own personal creative journey. Finally, the opinions and the views of the guest speakers are that of their own. They do not necessarily represent the views and the opinions of the show or the host. Before we get into the show, we'd love to give a big shout out to our friends at Inscape Education Management, based right here out of Dubai Design District. Inscape is a design training institute specializing in skill training specifically for the design and creative professions. They currently offer short courses in architecture, fashion, interior design, and graphics design. Inscape's unique training style is aimed at training individuals through design thinking methodologies, enabling them to process and generate real-life solutions with confidence. If you're a working professional, they got you covered too. In addition to the daytime courses that they have running, there are courses tailor-made for you with evening sessions. They provide working professionals with an opportunity to acquire new skills when it suits them. In a nutshell, you can earn while you learn. So the time is now. Pick up a new skill and add value to your workspace. If this is of interest to you, feel free to reach out to them on Instagram and Facebook at We Are Inscape UAE. That is, We Are Inscape UAE. Welcome to the show, guys. Our guest today truly pushes the boundary of architectural design to infinity and beyond. We're super stoked to have Hatem Al Khafaji join us today with a relatively, and I say relatively because once you hear the end of this, you'll think, yeah, okay, that makes sense. A relatively conventional foundation to his architectural journey. Hatem completed his undergrad degree in architectural engineering from the University of Sharjah. Whilst in professional practice, Hatem maintained a healthy connection to academic research. He spent 4 months in Japan as a research scholar at the world-renowned Tohoku University, designing the Gripper. And the Gripper is a next generation climbing robot, which basically explores surfaces of the moon, Mars, and nearby asteroids. Asteroids.
Yeah.
Okay. Not to mention having held multiple talks and seminars at universities locally and internationally, Hatem was also invited to be a jury member at Google for the Lunar X-Prize Moon Bots challenge. In 2015, he came on board to Killer Design, where he spent his time designing for, quite literally, the future. Being involved with projects like the Museum of the Future and the Office of the Future for the Dubai Future Foundation, it is clear that he has no signs of slowing down. During a brief sabbatical in 2016, he obtained a master's degree in space studies at the International Space University in France, where he focused his research on utilizing artificial intelligence to develop the next architectural construction methodologies on extraterrestrial planets. Since then, he has returned to Killer Design, where he currently practices. Early last year, Hatem went on to set up, and this has to be my favorite part of this entire podcast, went on to set up Space Roasters Inc., an aerospace startup with a twist, pushing the boundary of space and science. Finally, did we also mention he's given a TED Talk on lunar architecture. He's also written his first book to conclude codes to guide future architects designing on the moon. He also has a space technology design patent registered in the US and the UAE, and has participated in many NASA competitions, where his work lately was exhibited at the famous NASA JPL in Houston, the same center that launched none other than Neil Armstrong to the moon. Now, if that intro doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. Thank you very much for joining us, Hatem. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me here, Alan. It's great, actually. It's a great day. It's a good morning. It's Friday. Good. The roads are a bit calm, but I'm feeling the energy. And it's a great, actually, meeting you guys. All the energy, I'm having it here in the studio. It's amazing.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's what we try to put out. I'm glad that you are receiving.
Yeah, definitely I would.
Right. So, Man, so many questions when I was researching you, dude. I was like, where do I start with this guy?
You can start simple, just go basics, and then from there.
Cool. So my first thing was, how did you know space? As in, did you ever have that moment wherein you had this vision that you wanted the extraterrestrial and the space and the beyond and the infinities to be part of your life?
Well, it's a tough question because this takes me back all to my childhood days and like all the good memories we had. The thing is, it's very hard for even if you get all the signs, it's very hard for you to really say, you know what, this is what I want.
Right.
Because as a kid, as a teenager, or even now as an adult, it's a huge question. And it's really tough for you to decide what you want to be doing and what is your passion in life and why even God created you here and what is your purpose in life. This is all like a really big questions. So I was not looking for all these questions, all of these answers. I was just a simple kid that every time my dad, he loves road trips. Like when every summer we go to Saudi Arabia. And like every summer, it was my best timing because I was waiting for that all year. Because once we drive at night, he loved to drive at night, temperature is a bit low, you know how it goes. And then you could see the full dome of the sky at night. You see the stars and they feel so close because there is nothing around you. You're driving in the middle of the desert. And what happened, your perception of distances changes. So all of a sudden you feel the stars are really close to you that you could reach out and grab it. And this just inspired me year after year after year. It's this was the best time of the whole year. And since then I was always I started to read about space and the black holes and all the mystery. And it intrigued me, it's what excites me, all this unknown. And we could ravel it and we could explore because humans are explorers. This is how we explore the whole planet. And this is how we explore deeper in the planet, outside the planet, at the atomic level, at the biggest scale. We are explorers. This is who we are. And that immediately just played in my passion. It's this is what I want to do. I don't know what is it, but I want to be in that leading force to explore and do something unique.
Right.
But when I was 15, all of that basically was forgotten, fell in love, you know how it goes, school days. But once I graduated from high school, I had really good grade, which created...
Well, that made things convenient, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it comes with the stress. Now you understand why, because parents immediately was okay, now we have the good grade. This is the first step. Now you can achieve our dream. You could be a doctor or an engineer. I was
oh, that's such a cool dream.
I was no. I mean, I don't know nothing honestly about these two fields. But I was what if, I want to explore something else.
Right.
I still don't know what I want. I was no, but you can't go to major in art. Come on, you got over 90. You have to get either a doctor or an engineering. What about you go to architecture? It still involves art. It's
I feel like a lot of parents share that. A lot of parents think that architecture is this good compromise. They still feel like they're getting an engineer, kind of.
Exactly.
But we're also letting him do a bit of art, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a way for them. It's you know what? I'll give him what he wants, but still deep inside, he's an engineer. This is it. I'm winning. So that's what happened. But honestly, I changed between 5 majors until I settled on architecture engineering at the University of Sharjah, which was a great choice because I was lucky that my parents gave me the opportunity for that one full year for me to change major and explore and try to see exactly what I like.
Right.
And eventually it paid off because once I attended one of the classes with one of my best friends currently, but at that time I just met him over there and I was well, if you want to really understand what is architecture, you can come in, attend this one class with me. I'll talk to the professor. And if you really like it, then next semester you could just transfer.
Yep.
I was okay, cool. And I've done it and I loved it. I was you know what? This is a challenge. It's an unknown. I get to design from scratch. I got to put a lot of my emotions and intelligence in it because in architecture, when you design, you know this definitely as a designer, even if you're in a bad mood, that reflects in the design. If you're in a happy mood, it reflects. If you get a nice memory, sometimes you just had a really cool cup of coffee. You're sitting in a nice place, and that inspires you and pulls into your architecture.
Very, very true.
And that's honestly I couldn't ask for something more. This is challenging enough. It's exciting enough. This is going to be my passion. That's it. This is who I am. I was built and created on this earth to be an architect. And that's what I thought back then. Because then just...
But that's the beauty of change, right? That's exactly how it should be.
Yes, exactly. So that's what we talked about like before, like this morning while having our cup of coffee. Like we as a human have the ability, right? And this is why we evolved much better than the animal kingdom, or if all of the animals in the animal kingdom, that we have the ability to learn, adapt, and evolve, get all that learning or the adaptation methods we have learned to put it in and then evolve and get better and better and better. Right. This is where we are right now, like sitting in an air-conditioned box here in the middle of the desert, enjoying our time, having a podcast with all this technology.
Correct.
This is where we came with this approach. And the idea is, like I started the architecture, but I was like, oh, it's nice, it's challenging enough until the fourth year, before my senior year. I was like, it started to become a bit easy, like, and again, it's not easy, honestly, to design a building.
I feel like there's a lot of architects who are in the background listening to this saying, hell no.
Yeah, with all respect. I'm not saying it's easy, but it becomes part of who you are. The same like as a painter, your first paintings, you always struggle and try to find your style, right, your strokes and stuff. But by the end of 10 years, it's like, it becomes like a piece of cake. You just need to get that inspiration. And even the inspiration, you find a way, an approach to ignite your inspiration, whether it's with the right cup of coffee, in the right place, in the right mood, and you know it. And everyone, like, it's just completely different from everyone else.
Yeah.
So you know yourself and you know what ignites you. So that's what I meant by it came a bit easier for me, where I need something that still have that mystery.
Right.
That same mystery I've seen in space when I'm looking at the stars when I was a kid. That mystery was like, you know what? I want to figure this out. I want to explore. I want to go on that journey and keep learning till we figure this out. Right. I don't want to just be sitting in the receiving side. It's like someone else would explore it and feed me the information, and I will use it.
Right.
So that was my approach in it. So in my fifth year, I started to feel a bit, I don't want to say bored, because like with all respect to my professors, like it was a very exciting time back in college with the design studios. But I started to feel a bit like I have much more to provide. I have so much energy, and I have so much like ideas and concepts that I want to put on the table. So I was looking for an elective, university elective, and I didn't know what to get. And I was trying to get this like interesting topics that I would learn something completely out of my major, just to, I know, as it improves us as a designer and as an architect. So while scrolling down in the system, I found like, oh, they have astronomy. And I was like, honestly, like just reading that word on the system ignited all these memories. I was like, definitely I'll take it. It was the fastest course I registered to in my 5 years in uni. Honestly, it's like just click, register, add, done. And I've taken an A in that course, but it's not because, it was tough, honestly. It was not because it was easy, but we had a really good professor teaching us, and he was really passionate about it. But the other thing is like I was 200% focused with him. Like whatever he's saying is like, yes, I've read about this 10 years ago. And like there's this, and I felt that passion. I felt that love. Like they always say, you got to find your flow.
Right.
This is what I felt is like, wow, this is what ignites me. Honestly, like forget everything I've been doing for the last 4 years. These things, this mystery, this tough science, it would really like get me excited. And then I had that moment of like, ooh, I studied architecture for years. Is it time now to change? What can I do about it? But I really love design. And I really started just to sit by myself and think about it. It's like, what's going to be the next step of my life?
Right. Because
I love design so much. But now I finally found something that excites me as much as the design does.
So you graduate as an architect.
Yes.
Right. But you obviously still have this space bug, is what I'm going to call it, that was inside you. So when did you figure out the overlap between both?
It was in the fifth year.
Okay.
So this is where, after taking this course, and I was like, okay, now I need a topic for my senior. And I didn't know honestly what to decide, but it just crossed my mind in a stupid way that what if you could propose your senior thesis to be on building on the moon or Mars? And I thought, okay, wait, that's extremely ridiculous. Like, especially like in the university, I've seen all the graduation project, previous one and the new ones. Like that's impossible. I don't think even that could be acceptable by the faculty.
Right.
Talk to the faculty, and it was the toughest thing we have like done, because it's me going to the faculty trying to convince them to accept my thesis. And this was like even before my senior year starts. It's like just me preparing that and see if it's a possibility or not. Luckily, we had the head of the department at that time. He was very supportive. It was like, honestly, none of the faculty want to take this.
Right.
Because it's not because they don't like you or they don't want to support you, but this is completely out of their expertise.
Exactly.
They cannot even supervise you. Like, how are they going to supervise
Exactly.
you?
Like, how are they going to advise you on what to do?
It's like they don't even understand how the outer space environment works. So how they could supervise you or even grade you.
Correct.
But he was like, I will still keep pushing till we get to someone to supervise you. Again, luckily, all the pieces fell in the right place. One of the supervisor who was just visiting the school, extremely brilliant guy. I wouldn't forget him. And like this was his first week. And then when they told him about the idea, the guy was like, I'm definitely in. I can't even believe someone is proposing such a thing in this department.
Wow.
So this guy was like, this professor, he was more excited about the idea than myself. He used, honestly, to text me 3 a.m. He's like, by the way, I know you're asleep, but I thought about this and this. I was like, wow. I wake up next morning, but honestly, he gave me the right push and energy I wanted, because that kind of support, I needed. It was a tough year because I had always to keep facing people and facing the other professors that, what the hell you're doing?
Exactly. They would constantly shoot you down.
Yeah, I was like, even as students, like even my parents, even my friends, my best friends, was like, dude, we understand you love space, but come on, like cut off, like just go back to reality.
Like stop mixing the hobby into your actual study.
Exactly, that's exactly what I've heard. So I needed the right support, and this was the perfect one.
Okay.
So done my thesis, got the highest grades in the department, which was great. I had to actually have a pre-presentation to teach I won't say teach, but just to give the information the jury need about outer space and space architecture and all the different circumstances and features of the moon, because I was eventually in the moon, for them to be able to judge me on the presentation.
So you first had to actually educate them on what you're doing and then propose what you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So that's fine. That's easy. Everybody does that.
Honestly, so that's what I'm saying. It was a lot of extra work and a lot of tough work. But once you're passionate about something and it is your passion and you really love it, all of that, honestly, I didn't feel it and I didn't see it. I was just focused. I was like, this is what I need to do.
Right.
And I'm going to make it. I don't care what it takes.
Right.
And eventually graduated. Got the degree, get super excited about space architecture, started working, and then things slowly started to go down. It's like, well, now you start a new job, you're an architect, you're doing everything you're doing. It's cool and stuff, but I would never be able to work or even involve some of the space architecture passion I have, or the knowledge I have. And then I was looking to do my master, because I was like, I need to, like I've done a lot of seminars and tried to talk to students in universities or in schools. But I was like, yeah, talking about it actually gave me more energy that I need to go back to it. And because I see the passion, I see, especially with the kids, with the young kids, like they're so excited and amazed by it. It's like, yeah, this is why I'm doing it.
I completely get that, because that's kind of why even I teach, even though it's part-time or whatever, but just being in that environment, I think that when you start working, you kind of get into a bubble where everyone becomes a little complacent, a little jaded, a little, we know what we're doing and it's fine. But then when you see these kids who don't really have that, they're still a little naive in some sense.
That's right.
So anything is possible for them. I mean, they have no boundaries. They have no limits. Anything goes, So
that's completely right. If you've seen like Elon Musk, everyone knows Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, like super crazy, exciting guy. But I've seen one video for him when they first landed the 2 boosters.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that looked like a 7-8 years old kid who just flew his small rocket. because he was running the facial expression. He was a kid. And then he said in another interview, it's like, what he wants is to wake up every morning so passionate and so excited about what he's doing. If you don't have that kind of attitude and that spirit, then honestly, what you're doing.
What are you doing? Exactly.
And that's what I was looking for. And this is what I found, honestly, eventually with what I'm doing, as a space architect or robotic designer and all these things.
So when you did your thesis, which was roughly about 10 years back, more or less?
2012.
Well, a while back, nonetheless.
Yeah, a while.
So
I'm not that old.
I'm trying to understand, since you're in this field and since I'm assuming this is not a very big field, it sounds like a relatively niche field that you're in, right?
Yes.
So tell me about the progress that you've seen since, say, back when you had your thesis. Do you think if there was another student proposing something similar in space architecture today in university in this region, do you think he or she would have it easier or harder or face the same challenges you did?
Honestly and happily, no.
Okay.
Because the next semester, so back in when I've done my thesis, like we had all the students from our department, and the engineering department attending. Next semester, the same supervisor, the same professor who supervised me, he got 7 students interested to do space architecture.
Wow.
That's next semester immediately. And this was in our University of Sharjah. And then since then, in the last 2 years, I've seen all these different presentations from students at the American University of Sharjah and the Dubai American University of Dubai American University, proposing Mars architecture and moon architecture.
Okay.
So the region have shifted. And this is all thanks to the rulers and the vision they have over here, because they did really inject that passion and interest into space and science. We didn't have this 10 years ago, or we had it, but it just was in a low level.
Right.
And it's the same what I faced. Even if you have it as a kid or as a teenager, you will get shut down by the society or by the parents, because it doesn't exist, right? Why would I always heard this sentence? Why would you go to space? We have Earth. I was like, no, it's not about why. Why not?
Correct.
We're explorers, and everything we do in space, it's not about where you reach. It's always about the journey. We've learned so much from the Apollo program and the golden space race between Russia and the US, where most of the technology we have right now, it's because of that race.
Right.
So whether they reached or not, that's not
irrelevant.
The purpose is irrelevant. It's the journey, and it's what we've learned and what we captured and who we have inspired and how much we have evolved as a humans. That's the whole purpose of it.
Okay. And how influential right now is it the UAE Space Agency?
Yes, you got 2 entities. You got the one that it's the biggest umbrella of the UAE, is the UAE Space Agency in Abu Dhabi. And then you got the one in Dubai, which is Mohammed Barsha Space Center, where they are part of the UAE Space Agency. It's a different entity, but they have their own project and vision as well.
Right. Okay. Because I remember seeing the launch of the Bjarke Engels project, the one over at Mushrif Park, I think.
Yes.
That's for Mars, right?
Well, that one, yes, is the Mars Science City proposed by big architects.
Right. So I'm curious, what kind of role does, say, the governmental space entities, what kind of role are they looking to play in developing space technology? Are they looking to kind of, encourage locally grown talent here? Or are they looking to become leaders in, the world race per se? Or is it a bit of both? I'm trying to understand what their vision is, say, for the next decade, 5 decades, whatever it may be.
From my own understanding and my opinion, they're trying to do both. So what they're trying to do is they want space, because the space is a huge power of the economy for so many countries. And our region, it doesn't have it yet. So that's a huge opportunity. That's number one. Number two is we get a lot of locally really smart kids, motivated, got best education. And all of these kids, what they do is, well, if I couldn't find an aerospace company to work with here, or if I couldn't do what I want to do, I will go to another country and do it.
Right.
So you're losing this talent, you're losing this resources that could actually really let this region rise above so many different countries. So this is what they're trying to do. They don't want to lose, first of all, the local resources. And by local, I don't mean only the UAE, like the whole region in the Middle East. All this expertise and like talented kids would come to Dubai as a hub. And that's what we want. And that's what they want.
Right.
So it's a bit of both because it's got a huge potential in the future. And this is the future. This is one of the branches of the future, actually.
Right. I completely agree, man. I think space is, especially for us architects, well, designers in general. I think it's it really is an entirely different field, and it's a field which I think, at least, I used to think I was interested in it, and then it kind of like dies down. Then again, it comes back up. Then again, it dies down. I think I first got into space like heavily was kind of when SpaceX came into being, as I think a lot of people did.
Definitely.
Like until that time, I think everyone was kind of like in their own little space.
Yeah.
But everything from like, when the Falcon Heavy launched, and then when the twin boosters came down, and then now recently with Starhopper, I think.
Yes.
I mean, it makes me really hopeful that, someone who's, say, a normal person, like in my lifetime, it's very likely I could, at least go into orbit, if not go to, say, the moon or Mars or whatever.
Yes.
But it seems like a very realistic thing that can happen now. So my question to you is, since you're obviously more knowledgeable than I am in this, how realistic is it? As in, how realistic is it that an average Joe could say, how they would say take a flight from, say, Dubai to LA, for example? How easy would it be for someone to, say, go into orbit? Do you see that happening in the near future? Is it a 10-year kind of thing, or is it a next 50-year kind of thing? How far or close are we?
Well, based on because you got a few startups working with this. You got Blue Origin with Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, and you got Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Galactic, and then you got SpaceX. But even SpaceX, they're not thinking orbital yet. I mean, they got a lot of plans. They're still developing the technology.
Right.
And honestly, Elon Musk is very smart because he's keeping it abroad, and he did not specify it yet. Because once you have the technology, then you could do whatever you want, right? Like, and he got the money, he got the resources, he got the support. He could open like 5 branches of this technology all of a sudden.
Right.
But they still did not really specify what they want. But I will talk about Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin. So both of them actually, they're very close. They've done all the testing. They're very close to launch people to orbit within the coming 2 years.
2 years?
2 years, yes. We're not talking about 10 years. 10 years,
right,
I would say talk about the moon. Yeah, that's the stuff.
So it's highly likely we could do like a quick podcast like while in orbit then.
Yeah,
like,
that would be
check
great.
it out, zero gravity.
Honestly, I keep saying, and like I've done this like a few presentations to the school kids, and I keep telling them, you're living in a very exciting times. You're gonna be like the first generation that could actually go and live or travel to the moon or Mars.
Right.
Like my generation is still like, I'm hoping they could do it within the next 30 years. I could visit Mars. That would be amazing.
Right.
But there's doubt still, like the technology and the political situation. Like it's a lot of, it's a mixture. It's a lot of
course,
stuff. But for the next generation, it's almost indefinite. Like they're going to go and have the ability to visit the moon or Mars or even maybe stay there.
Wow.
But orbit it's reachable 2 years.
No big deal.
Yeah, just go. They've been working on it a lot. Like for the last 10 years, actually, they're working on this.
Right. Which, if that's how close at least the next generation is to actually be living, well, does the moon count as interplanetary or not yet? Or would Mars be interplanetary?
No, it's a lot of debates.
Okay.
I would say the moon, like it's a moon, it's not a planet, but it's another piece of rock. And for you even to reach to the moon, yeah, it's a 3 days ride, but it's tough.
Right.
And the technology you need to go to the moon, it's a bit less, and I would say, I mean, easier. It's not the right time, but you know what I mean. Like it's a bit like a less of a challenge rather than going to Mars, but it's the same technology involved.
Right.
So it is still a challenge, and if you're able to do that, then I think, in my opinion, it qualifies it to be like this is interplanetary travel.
Right.
If we could go to the moon and more frequent, or even could have a base on the moon.
True. Moon could become like the The pit stop.
Definitely. So this is honestly the main reason why people want to go to the moon, not to explore. And I mean, all of these reasons are there, but the main value, and everyone is focused on, whether it's government or the private entities, that it could be the best terminal for us to be launched to Mars and other planets.
Okay.
Because with the moon gravity is so low, you could launch much bigger rockets with more people and then with more payload. Right. And then with the moon out of orbit, like it could be just an intermediate station between us and any other planet in the solar system in the future. So that's why it's just a terminal hub. And that's the greatest value of the moon. There's a lot of, again, a lot of scientific values, a lot of things we could do there, but that's the biggest.
Wow, I never thought of it that way, actually. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's always, so the gravity is our biggest, I won't say enemy, but it's the biggest challenge.
Right.
Because with Earth gravity, like it takes you so much and it costs you so much to launch 1 kilogram of payload. So like you've seen the huge rockets with the 2 boosters and eventually just 1 satellite or just 3 people with a bit of their like storage area.
Right.
And on the moon, it might almost be the opposite. Because of the moon gravity, you just have a very tiny rocket and a huge payload.
Right.
And that's honestly the best way to launch people to Mars.
Right.
Because you cannot launch only 6 people to Mars on a journey of 8 months.
Right. It needs to be substantial.
You want to send a community, yes. You want to send even a small community with 24, 48, but it's just a small community.
So if that's the kind of volume of people that you're looking to, say, inhabit, transport, live in, I'm looking just to bring things back a little more architecturally, a little more interior design-ish, if you may. My only visual that I can think of, say, a space home or say a inhabitable space on Mars or the moon would be what I see in the movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's predominantly what my visual reference is for these spaces. Yeah. Realistically, can you tell me how they would actually be? I mean, what are the kind of settings that we're looking at? What are the kind of materials we're looking at? Color palettes, light. Do they actually matter? Not matter? What do you think?
They do definitely matter, and a lot. Compared to Earth over here, because we got used to stuff, we have a gravity, right? If your ceiling is white, if your floor is white, it's fine. Your body, your ears knows the gravity is down. Your joints, your muscles knows the gravity is being pulled. You're being pulled down, right? So you're stable. Once you go to space, so there's a few scenarios. You got like outer space where you have 0 gravity, or you get the moon or Mars where you have a partial gravity of the Earth's gravity. So in space is much harder when you have 0 gravity. And they faced this actually in the International Space Station back in the 2000. So what happened? Astronauts started to feel misoriented, and they're always dizzy. Right. Because they still don't know what is up, what is down.
Right.
And they don't feel the gravity. And they had the training, but still, even in the training, you know what is up, what is down, because of the colors, of the shape of the capsule you went in.
Right.
You see the windows outside, and you know there's someone standing there.
Right.
And your eyes actually immediately like feed your brain that, don't worry, this is up, this is down.
Yeah.
But over there, they found like the astronaut, they're struggling.
Right.
And it was a very simple solution by the Russians, where all what they did is paint the upside black and paint the lower one gray.
That makes sense.
And astronaut immediately, this is the power of the brain. The brain immediately is like, okay, black is the sky, this is the ground, this is the floor, this is up, this is down. Right. Even though it was completely opposite. So their head was toward Earth.
Right.
But because there is no gravity, it doesn't matter. It's all about the perception your brain needs to have.
Right.
So from this only concept, then imagine it when it goes to building a permanent structure where people would live there for years.
Yeah.
You got to account for these things that we take for granted over here, or they don't matter here. And that was honestly one of the reasons why I fell in love with this even more, like as a space architect. Because the challenge and the factors that goes in, they're much, much more than what we have as designing a normal architecture on Earth.
Okay.
Because now all the psychological effects, they have a huge impact. Over here, we got to use, like you look out of the window, you see the skies, you see the ground, the trees, the horizon. You have a sense of perception. You have a sense of where is your location and what is your position on this earth.
Right.
Over there, you wouldn't have this. Like if you are on the moon, then you see dark sky with stars 24/7.
Right.
Looks cool and nice, but after a while, it's like, well, am I living in a VR environment or what's going on? And then your brain starts to panic.
Right.
Because this is not what you're used to. You're used to always see boundaries and you have a perception of your surrounding.
Right.
So that's only one of the few things. Now, the physical aspects also have a huge challenge. And this was one of the biggest challenges I faced. Because I was trying to design for the moon. But every time I try to come up with a solution, it comes back to having normal floors, beams, columns, and it's a normal architecture that we have here on Earth.
Right.
And I was like, no, I gotta stop this because these solutions works perfectly here. They've been optimized for the last hundreds of years here on Earth. But it doesn't mean they're the best to work in space.
Right.
So it took me actually 2 months of keep studying and keep forcing myself to forget what I have learned as basic engineering and structure. And I tried to come up with a solution that works for the moon. And that's what I keep having the sentence like, do we want to extend the architecture of Earth to other planets, or let every planet start its own story of architecture?
True.
And this is how it should be. We started our style of architecture here based on the circumstances we have, based on the gravity, material, technology, time, culture, values. Every city, every country have their own. Every part of the planet have their own architecture because of that.
Right. It's contextually driven, except
Exactly.
now it's interplanetary context. That's all.
Exactly. So now back to the material. We would say, yeah, we take our basics from here, but it would be extremely expensive for you to take construction material from Earth. As we say, like 1 kg would cost you around $10,000. So imagine like if you want to send a few like building blocks, that would cost you a fortune. And we don't have that kind of like luxury to send all of this. So now there's a lot of scientists and engineers actually thinking of solutions of what is the minimum things we could send to go to the moon or Mars. And over there, we utilize the local resources. So we could utilize the lunar regolith, which is basically the dirt that we have on the surface of the moon, or the Martian regolith.
Right.
And then we can build something with that. And this is where, again, future technologies would come in, right? This is where 3D printing is one of the best solutions.
Right.
And everyone is heavily basically focused on it now. Because if you take only, even if it's too heavy, but you take only one 3D printing arm, and then this could build the whole colony for you.
Exactly.
Out of local dirt.
Right. So your actual transport would just be that one arm.
Exactly. And that's for the material. So when I say it's a journey, this is one of the things I meant, right? We might not live on the moon or Mars, but while we're trying to find the technology and solutions to be able to actually live on the moon or Mars, we'll learn a lot that would benefit our Earth.
Right.
Food over there doesn't exist, which means you need to find ways to produce food and recycle it and have that closed loop. Water doesn't exist, or it's not that abundant, let's say. We have a frozen ice here and there. But then you need to find a smart way of getting the ice and then have a closed loop of how we could recycle everything.
Right.
Over there, you cannot throw garbage everywhere because now this is material. It's a resource.
Exactly.
So I would say you will be forced to be sustainable and self-sufficient because of the circumstances.
True.
But the technology you learn, is like you bring it back to Earth, well, now we can solve actually major crises.
Makes sense.
And if you think about it, solar panels, this is only one small example. Solar panels been developed so much and now they're so efficient because of the International Space Station.
Right, because their use of solar energy.
Yeah, because they cannot have any other source of energy. I mean, they can have a small nuclear reactor, but that would be extremely dangerous for 6 astronauts in outer space.
Of course.
And for Earth, us here on Earth, if it falls down.
Yeah, to have a little like nuclear reactor floating around us at all times.
Yeah, that's dangerous. But eventually, the best source of energy for them was the sun. And actually, it's better than what we have here on Earth because there's no atmosphere. So it's 6 times stronger than what we have here on Earth.
Right.
And that's how like the scientists, the engineers start working really hard to make the solar panels very efficient. And they brought the price down big time. And now we use solar panels almost everywhere here in the UAE and other cities.
Okay. I'm trying to understand because from what I hear, it sounds like it's predominantly a very engineering, robotics kind of field that we're trying to enter into. For, I mean, myself and the people listening, how do we as architects or we as designers fit into that field, in the sense that does it now mean that we have to re-educate ourselves and learn, say, for example, things like basic robotics and so on to integrate into our architectural design? Or does it mean that we just become a consultant to somebody else who's actually doing the engineering? I'm trying to understand what is that overlap and how does one actually move towards space architecture?
So this actually one of the biggest question I had a few years ago. And the answer to this question was actually me selecting the International Space University in France to do my master in, because they have something called, this is a new way of programs. It's called interdisciplinary program. So what happened is we were studying actually 7 fields, but they all connected to the space.
Right.
Which means you had a space economy, space business, space management, space engineering, space science, space architecture, space medicine. And what happened is you don't need to be an expert in every field.
Exactly, right.
But you need to know about it. And as an architect and designers, we know this, right? Like,
right.
We are not structural engineers over here, but we understand the basics.
Exactly.
And that's important for you to design in the right terms. Right. So it's the same with the space architecture. You just need to learn much more and have more knowledge of the related field to space. But the more you learn them, then the better, let's say, designs and solutions you can propose.
Right.
But still, it doesn't take away the importance of an interdisciplinary team.
Okay.
And that's what they're trying to do nowadays at NASA Houston, where they're trying to actually integrate space architects into their teams. This doesn't exist actually more than 10 years ago.
Okay.
Now it's they heavily believe it's like, oh, we designed the International Space Station, all these structures, but it was designed by engineers. And that's
right.
why we had all these problems. And
right.
that's why if we have...
Not that we're hating on engineers, we're just saying.
No, definitely not. But everyone, they're expert in their field, right?
Right.
Like the way an engineer would design a building, say, well, I need a door here, I need a window here. It's done.
Exactly.
But the architect would say, no, if I put the door in this direction, then the first thing you see when you enter is that beautiful lobby, and then the color would be this, the ceiling height,
right.
the window, I want it to be like from floor to ceiling. You start to think about this because this is how we have learned it, and this is how our profession works.
Right.
So an integration of a really interdisciplinary team is very important if you want to manufacture and design the next generation of space architecture, or actually any space technology.
Okay. So if let's say that, because to be honest, I'm really inspired now. Let's say that
That's great.
there's an architect like myself who's interested now to explore space architecture. If say I want to learn more about it, is there any one field which you would recommend by saying start over here, and if you're still interested, then you can move on to the deeper studies?
No.
But if there's one field which you could recommend, which people could look into as architects and designers, what would that be?
Well, it's basically the basic space science.
Okay.
But try not to read, because if you want to go like deep into the science of it, it's going to be too complicated. It's going to push you off.
Right.
So what you could do is, honestly, the best source we have right now, and it's a luxury, is watching movies. If you get excited about, look at the design, look at the solution here, look at this. If you get excited about space architecture in the movies, then you might be actually interested in this field. And that's what happened with me actually back in college, because I had to do like a long, big thesis to learn about space architecture.
Right.
And one of my case studies, this is what my professor proposed, is like, we'll go study movies,
right,
and video games.
Right.
There's a real designers that design these structures, and they actually, some of them in the movies, they would consult with experts from NASA and the European Space Agency and the Japanese Space Agency.
Right.
So they actually been validated and approved by proper scientists and engineers, space engineers.
Right.
Which
So there's
means-
definitely some logic to it then.
Definitely.
Right.
I mean, some of them, they will put the twist where it's like they try to define, or they try to push your imagination a bit. It's like, what if we could have this magical solution where we could have a gravity on the space station?
Right.
we don't have such technology. There's a lot of theories and stuff. But in the movies, we always try to think, no, within 20, 50 years, we might find a solution to actually have an artificial gravity. So they skip this part. But in terms of the design aspect of it, that's definitely there.
Okay.
I mean, this reminds me of the movie. I think it's definitely not The Shining. That was a horror movie. That scared me when I was a kid. It's not The Shining. It's another movie. I think The Shining or something.
I think it's the one with the dude from Linkin Park, Sunshine.
Where they go to the sun, basically trying to.
Yes, they have this big solar panel kind of thing in the center.
Exactly, that's
and the ship
movie.
is a thin thing behind it. Yeah.
And
Chester from Linkin Park. Yeah, was there in that.
Exactly.
See, I'm interested in space architecture.
See, but if you remember in the movie, they had something they called, I think, the breathing room or the earth room.
Yeah.
And I was amazed by it. I was like, ooh, I definitely need to consider this in my design of a space architecture.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be homesick, definitely. This is where we belong. This is where we have lived. This is where all our memories, subconscious build, block by block, cell by cell. We're integrated into planet Earth.
Right.
This is who we are. And all of a sudden, you're on a different planet or in outer space alone or with a few other people with you.
Right.
And you will feel homesick. And what would really calms you down? You cannot keep taking medications, right? So this was one of the proposals that amazed me, honestly. Then an architecture solution our interior solution could actually exist.
Right.
Or in the Interstellar movie, before they sleep, they put the headphone and it just sounds of rain and falling water or the beach. And all of this just calm them down and remind them that, you know what, you're still going back to Earth.
Right.
And this is where you belong.
Right. Well, that's surreal, man. I mean, that's really, really, I mean, there's so much to think about. But on that note, I think this would be a good opportunity to take a short break. And we'll be right back after this.
Great.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode thus far. It makes us really, really proud that we can add value to your commute, your drive, your workout, your design time, whatever it is that you may be doing, and keep you inspired. Our inspiration and passion is fueled by the amazing team over at the Orange Design Group. The Orange Design Group, or ODG as they're affectionately known, is an award-winning boutique design firm specializing in bespoke, client-centric design solutions. They're based right here out of Dubai. What's cool with them is that under their umbrella, they offer an integrated design concept with architectural, specialist lighting, and home automation services. Their designs are super clean, as in super, super clean. They have a keen eye for detail, and their work has gone on to be featured in various media outlets, both locally and internationally. Their work has won multiple awards across various fields. Currently, they're working on delivering niche, residential, and cultural projects across the GCC. Their work is truly, truly, truly inspiring for any designer. You guys should definitely check them out. They're on LinkedIn and Instagram. The handles are @Orange Design Group. That is @Orange Design Group.
Welcome back. We're sitting across with Mr. Hatem, who is, I'm pretty sure, going to be... have you ever considered being an astronaut?
Definitely, yes.
Really?
That's a dream, man. So I already started, I would say, my own training and preparation for being an astronaut. Because, I mean, that's got to happen. This is one of my dreams of life that I will keep working toward it. And it's going to happen. I'm positive. So one of my trainings is actually I'm obtaining my pilot license, private pilot license for small airplanes, just to get a feeling of how would you be misoriented in it, upside down, and you still be able to focus and drive. The other thing is the scuba diving license, which I already obtained last year. And these two are the two licenses that they would train you if you don't have them, or they would prefer that you have them when you apply for the astronaut program.
Oh.
So yes, on the list.
Cool. So for all you guys listening, if you happen to hear this podcast and Hatem's already an astronaut by then, just know that this was the first architecture podcast to have an astronaut on. Oh man, but all jokes aside, man, I think space architecture is super, super interesting. I think it's confused with a lot of people. They don't really fully understand what it is. A few people who I was talking to about it were like, Oh, so does that mean that you're going to be designing the rockets? Because that's what engineers do. Oh, but does that mean that you're going to be designing houses on Mars? But that's also what engineers do. So where is your design in it? And I think that exploring that middle ground is what's going to be really, really interesting in the next, whenever we're ready to do it, basically.
That's right.
There is something else that I want to talk about, which for me is the most exciting part of this podcast. Like, I was literally like giggling when I found out about this. So I'm not going to say much. I'm going to let you introduce the topic. Can you tell us about space roasters and what they are?
Well, simply from the company name, you could somehow get a hint of what
Space
you're doing.
roasters.
Yeah. But then your mind immediately say, no, but it can't be what I think it is because it doesn't make sense. It cannot be done.
Right.
No, it's got to be means something else. Maybe they misspelled roaster with something. I mean, there got to be a mistake. Or maybe it just doesn't mean what it means. It's just a stupid name. But in reality, it is what it is, right? Like, we want to actually roast food in outer space or cook food in outer space.
I feel like you're going to have to repeat that again because people are going to be like, what? What?
Again, we want to cook and roast food in outer space.
That's right. We all heard the same thing.
Didn't change.
Okay, so that's what we want to do. How are we going to do it?
Well, like I keep saying, maybe it's the wrong word when I say simple and difficult, but I want to say it's simple. And I think, like, you know what I mean? It's relatively simple, let's say.
Right.
It's not like a really tough rocket science. It's still rocket science, but
the concept is simple.
Yeah, the concept is simple. It's just about, because no humans have tried this before. And that's what I keep saying, it's the journey, right? Like, it's a concept of what if food production could be optimized and be more efficient in zero gravity.
Right.
Because gravity does affect our cells and like molecules in even molecular level. It's not only in like a physical big masses. So these effects, no one knows still if they're gonna affect the way food is being cooked. Whether it's gonna be faster, slower, tastier, healthier. There's so many research papers on this, but there is no definite answer yet. And that's what we're trying to explore. It's like, it's going to start with coffee. So this is the first project. And we picked coffee because everyone loved coffees.
We're known on the show to have a cup of coffee every now and then. So definitely coffee is something very universal. A lot of people all over the world would be interested in that.
And this is part of so honestly, even before the company, before everything, when I sat with my partner, we're doing the master program at the International Space University. We're both thinking, it's like, dude, it's such a depressing fact that the average teenagers, the average people are not passionate and interested about space the same way we do. Like that class, every professor, every instructor used to come in. He gets so much energy. They're so excited. And they always tell us at the end of the class, it's like, we're lucky to be here because we got 44 students in front of us. Everyone is so passionate and excited, while we cannot find this number of students worldwide.
Right.
The average people, they're not interested in space. They don't know much about it. And as you said, before SpaceX, is like, people even didn't know that you have Astronaut in the International Space Station.
Right.
Because it was not that interesting. It was not that much of a cool information to know.
Yeah, the cool factor wasn't there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we can talk about that later, but it is changing the game once you start to promote something in a different way.
Right.
Now people are interested more in space because of what the stunts, I would say, Elon Musk is doing.
Right.
Whether it's not only because he's an entrepreneur or he's just a really geeky space enthusiast and he's doing his dream. No, it's because of the things they are doing, the way they're doing it, the way they're promoting it. It's directed toward the young generation,
right,
toward the young mind, toward the average people.
Right.
Not toward the typical way of directing this information, just toward whoever is interested. It's like, no, what about the non-interested people or uninterested people who would really be interested if you really give them the opportunity? So we thought, it's like, we want to get something. We want to create something. We don't know what is it? But we want to do something that would at least make a difference and get more people to be passionate about space the same way we do. And we had so many ideas, so many things, but Space Roasters basically was the best, where it started as a joke, started as a silly question from one of our colleagues. I was like, can you roast food in outer space? Can you like use the re-entry heat? And the instructor was like, I mean, why would you? No one have done it. But I mean, it's a stupid question. But after that, it's like, I kept thinking about it. It's like, yes, we could. And this definitely would inspire a lot of kids. Definitely inspire a lot of people. Especially when you mix it with coffee and you say, you know what? You have your cup of coffee roasted in outer space. And you know what? It tastes much better than any cup of coffee you will try here on Earth. Because now it's been optimized in outer space environment.
Right. Advantages as to outer space. Because I'm trying to think, is it something which is the coffee part of it just a gimmick? Or is it that it will genuinely taste better or worse or whatever?
So a bit of explanation of how we roast coffee. Now, coffee beans, the way, every aspect of planting, harvesting, roasting coffee change the taste and have that impact on the taste. Right? Now, getting the perfect green coffee beans with different types of Robusta, Arabica, you get so many ways, so many countries planting them. That's one aspect of it, that we could get the best beans available in the market and then use it. Now, the aspect of roasting is what we're trying to optimize and change. Because the way things are being roasted right now, the traditional way is you have a huge cylinder or a drum of steel, and you have a source of heat underneath it. You put the beans and you keep rotating that drums over and over again. And what happened is the beans have, first of all, to touch the hot surface to be roasted.
Right.
And some beans stays longer, they get stuck, which means they get burned.
Right.
Some beans doesn't. Right. Some surfaces of the bean, or different positions, wouldn't even touch the drum. Some of them will get rotated so hard that they break off.
Right.
So all these things that would happen because of the traditional, conventional way of roasting coffee beans.
Okay.
Now, this is one aspect of it. The other aspect is now how heat will dissipate into the bean itself, molecule by molecule. That's also is different. Because you have the gravity, even when you put the source of heat on the beans from every direction, because of the gravity, it's still affected on a molecular level where the heat would go down toward the gravity.
And
even when
it
dissipates.
And not towards the center.
It's not equally, basically, or a homogeneous roasting.
Right.
So these two aspects of it, if once we take gravity out of the equation, now imagine with me, you got your beans, let's say half a kg or 1 kg, just floating in a cylinder.
Right. Now there's no gravity.
Exactly. So they're not touching any part of the hot metal. That you don't even need to have a hot metal. You just can have a blow hot gas into these beans. Now what happened is all these beans completely floating, flying in zero gravity, getting the heat from everywhere, and the heat will transfer and slowly transit toward the core of the bean to roast it slowly at the same rate, and you have a homogeneous roast for every single bean by itself. So what we have right now, when you use a drum, some of them get roasted, some of them doesn't, some parts is roasted, some part is not, and then you try to have a dark roast, which means you try to make sure that you have roasted every part of the beans.
Right.
So you over roast it, I would say, or you burn it, and you have a bitter taste of it.
Right.
But in reality, no, you can have the perfect roast, and this is why we call it a space roast. So it's not a dark roast, it's not light roast, it's a space roast. And it's the perfect one in between where you only give the amount of roast that the beans need to be perfectly roasted without overdoing it or underdoing it.
Right.
So that's the advantages, and this is how we believe it would improve the roasting process of the coffee. Now, it started with coffee because we love coffee and we feel like it will bring people together through the love of coffee and science.
Right.
Because now coffee lovers are very excited about the concept, and we keep getting the emails and the calls, and they're very much excited and waiting for it. Now, on the other side, you got these space people who somehow enjoy coffee or not, but still they're very excited because this is a new concept that no one have thought about.
Right.
So it's already working that we got the coffee lovers and the science space lovers.
It's a good overlap
together. Yeah. And that's honestly what we're trying to do in even the other ideas we're going to explore in the future. This is what we talked about in space architecture. Why it's always going to be one field, super isolated, and this is it. I'm going to do what I do. Only the people who understand me, who the people who studied my field, who understand my technology.
Right.
Where you direct your information only to whoever who's interested.
Okay.
Why don't you direct your information of a mixture of different disciplines and different groups of people?
Makes sense. So coming back to the coffee beans, so essentially you kind of send this 1/2 kilo, 1 kilo of coffee beans in some kind of a capsule container into orbit. And what's the kind of timeline that this should take, or that you're planning for it to take?
So again, like to buy the beans from the sustainable source that we're supporting, be shipped all the way to our launch site, which most probably is going to be in the United States, and from there then to be put in the rocket and the payload and the space roasting capsule, which is the patented technology we're working on, and then launch it to outer space. So all of this I will cut it because it might take days, maybe weeks, just to ship and fly stuff.
Right.
But from launching it on the rocket, putting it in the rocket to launch it, till we retrieve it back after it's been roasted, that would take around 4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
So the whole idea is like we're going to put it in the payload. The payload is the space roasting capsule. We launch it to outer space. It doesn't need to be really far away, but still it will be within the Earth orbit. And we're going to launch it in a re-entry trajectory, which means we're going to direct it toward the Earth in a way that after a few rotations around the Earth, it will re-enter the Earth atmosphere, which is exactly what we want. Because the new things we're trying to do here is, what if we could make this more sustainable by not taking our energy source with us or heat source with us, and we could get that re-entry heat that every capsule that returns to Earth always a struggle with, and it's too hot that burns the whole capsule. Right. And we have to put a huge shield to stop it. What if we could harvest that heat and dissipate it to the coffee beans to be roasted?
Makes sense.
It always makes sense, but like, why are people not doing it? Come on, people. You gotta do something.
Right. So in terms of timelines, do you have a date wherein, say, someone like me could order this online or anything like that?
Yes. So we're still working on the technology, and at the same time, we're working on the logistic part of it.
Okay.
So the logistic part is we want to open a cafe. It's called the Space Station Cafe.
Okay.
And that place...
That's going to be on Earth, right?
Yes, it's going to be on Earth. No.
Just checking.
So far until now, it's on Earth. I mean, in the future, you never know.
All right.
But the idea is, see again, I told you about like our vision of how we want to inspire the general average people.
Right.
And this cafe, it's the hub. It's the incubator that it's in the cafe, space themed cafe. Again, it's my expertise as a designer that I would design it the best, where people would come in, have that cup of coffee, space cup of coffee, and still be able to engage with each other, talk about science, talk about space, learn something about space every time they come in. And by the time they leave, I would imagine if you go there for a few times, you have to be inspired.
Of course.
I would definitely aim that would be the first time you come in, you would be immediately inspired. But if you go there, like that hub, the students, the kids, even the older people, the average people, once they go there a few times and hang together, you're going to find your community. You're going to find it's like, well, I'm not alone. There's a lot of people who are interested in this.
True.
And then this is where ideas will be generated. This is where you would ignite their minds, and maybe something new would come. Maybe another space startup that we never thought about. Something that it's completely outrageous, like a space roaster. but still works and makes sense.
Makes sense. When you talk about the entire process, it seems like it's a very labor-intensive, cost-intensive kind of process. So I'm trying to, again, understand from a layman point of view. Do you, as, since you obviously learned about space economies and things like that, do you have any price points as to what you're targeting for, say, what a cup of coffee would cost at, say, this cafe?
Sure.
Is there something which you're looking to achieve, like a general, say that if we stay within this range, we should be able to price it at X or whatever?
Yes. So the whole cost at the beginning is going to be high, because the research and development that we need to put in and to get the right process, to get the right capsule and everything is working, that would be a bit high. But after that, the capsule is reusable, the rockets are reusable, and everything will start to go down to a cheaper and cheaper prices, which means it's going to be almost the cost of the beans plus the labor and the let's say overhead that we need to get one patch roasted.
Right.
So far, our aim is to bring it below the $45 to $50. But the first price would be within like this high cost, initial cost. It will be around $50. Okay. And after that, basically, we'll start to bring it down more and more.
Okay.
With an aim that we want the average people to have everyone from the average people to have the opportunity to try this cup of coffee and be inspired by it. We don't want it to be very exclusive where, if you can't afford it, then you can't be in, or you cannot even try and be inspired.
Because that would then defeat the purpose, I would think.
Exactly. That's why I explained at the beginning, and I keep emphasizing on it. This is not about making tons of profit.
Right.
It's about making an impact. And it's something it's truly me and my partner believe in, that I believe by the time I leave this earth, at least if I could inspire a few people and improve a bit on our humanity, whether it's locally or internationally, I would be very satisfied and happy. And this is what I feel my purpose here on earth, like just to give something back.
That's a very good mindset to have. That's, I think, what a lot of us need.
Definitely. If every human in this earth think with that mindset,
right.
Honestly, we have a huge intellectual capabilities if we work together.
Right.
Rather than competing against each other. Imagine if you could bring every architect on this planet and just let them find solutions for the best next generation of architecture.
Right. Of course. That would definitely push us all in the right direction, for sure.
Definitely. I understand the barriers. I understand why it's not happening. But in an ideal world for me, that would be the best scenario, honestly.
Right. So if your plan is to initially, like you said, start off with coffee for space roasters, I know this might be highly confidential and you don't want anyone to know, but do you have, let's say everything goes successfully, do you have a phase 2 or something which you're looking to expand into, or maybe, spread the cafe wider across the world and beyond? I don't know.
Definitely. So the first phase from our space roaster business, it's to have that cafe launch in one of the big cities. So far, our best candidate is Dubai and
But of course,
I don't need to explain why. Honestly, this is the best city that you could have such an idea to be incubated. The people, the mindset, and everything around you would just we will get so much appreciated by the people, and this is what we wanted. But after this phase is done, we build a brand, we validate that this is working. Then we'll go to phase 2. And phase 2 is basically going international. So we don't want to even be regional. We wanted to distribute the coffee to every vendor that would appreciate it. So at the beginning, we're not going to be distributing it. We're just going to be selling coffee at our cafe. But then it's going to be internationally shipped and distributed to every vendor.
Right.
And hopefully the phase 3, when people will be living on Mars and the Moon, then we could go interplanetary.
Well, this is the only coffee that you're going to get then.
There is no choice,
Something which I just thought about right now. Do you see, again, because I'm really interested in that subject, space economy that you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Do you, because obviously now when you're, still in the research design phase, you are kind of in that quantity of say half kilo, 1 kilo, whatever it may be.
Yes.
Do you see that increasing to a mass level?
Definitely, it has to.
Okay.
It has to. So our testing and initial payload would be very small. But then because the technology we're building it in a way that it could be scalable.
Okay.
And we want that is very important because once we get validation, it's working, that small patch will not be enough.
Exactly.
So at the beginning, we will be limited by 30 cup per day. And that's not because we're trying to make it exclusive, but because...
That's just how much we can do.
Yes, exactly. It's going to space and coming back. It's not easy,
Right.
But after that, we need to scale it up to 75 to 200 kgs per patch.
Okay.
And then from then we want also to expand it to the last phase where it's like 500 kg per patch. And that would be enough to actually mass produce this, bring the cost down a lot, and be able to distribute it internationally and interplanetary.
Of course. Interplanetary is the most important one. Man, that sounds really, really exciting, man. I mean, if anyone comes out of this podcast thinking that I'm not inspired, you need to change your field. Because I mean, I can't wait to I have some topics in my mind which I want to go and research right now, just based out of this conversation. So all I want to say is, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. This was probably, at least for me, something which I literally learned on the go, because a lot of this I know was unscripted. So not that we scripted in any way, but in general, it was just so easy to talk to you, and we've never met before. And it was really, really awesome to have you on the show, man.
No, definitely. Thank you, Alan. It's great. That's what I said. You ignite the right answers in my head. And definitely I memorized every word I just said in the last few hours. But
that's some TED Talk experience coming.
No, it's a great. Honestly, I would love for everyone who is hearing this podcast just give it a few days. Let it sink in. Think about it. And
listen to it again. Give us a nice review. No problem.
Yeah. And maybe watch an Interstellar movie. Or just being inspired. Honestly, again, this is the same thing I said at the beginning of this podcast. We are humans. We are pioneers. We are explorers. This is who we are. If we stagnate and don't be out there, don't lead this, then what's the point? What's the point? I don't want to live a life where every morning I will wake up, do the same thing, go back to sleep with no motivation, no goal, no change, no legacy that I want to leave. Again, it's the same way Elon Musk have done. You've seen his facial reaction at this age, and he still got that excited about launching a rocket and landing it as a young 8 years old kid.
Right.
I want that, and I want always to have that. And I wish everyone, honestly, could have that feeling, because this is a pure happiness.
I agree. Finally, just before we sign off, if there's anyone who wants to reach out to you, because now they're inspired, they want to know more about space architecture, they want to hear your great words of wisdom again. Maybe they have, if any of you students listening to this, you actually want to start doing space architecture, or maybe you want to pursue a thesis like Hatem did, and you want his advice on it, perhaps, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, I already have many students who already reached out because they're doing their thesis in space architecture. So please do so if you're interested, or if you have any questions, or even if you just want to have a cup of coffee and let's just talk about space or anything that is related to space. Because it's not only architecture, it's anything that you feel that you're really passionate about and you just want to discuss it with someone. I'm definitely there. You could find me on LinkedIn, Hatem Al Khafaji, or you could find me on my website, hatemalkhafaji.space, and just reach out. My email is there. It's very easy. Just Google me. You can find me. I'm out there.
All right. And we'll also have those down in the show notes. If you guys are listening to this, it'll definitely be there somewhere. So yeah, man. Thank you once again. We hope to have you on once you're an astronaut again.
Yeah, I hope so. Soon. Thanks a lot for having me here, Alan. This has been great.
All right, great. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys next week.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the complete episode. It means the world to us that you did. As you probably know, this episode, along with a host of many others, are available on all of your favorite streaming platforms. If this episode in any way added value to you, please subscribe to us and leave us a review. It really helps us get the show out there to a much larger audience. Feel free to share the episode with your friends, your colleagues, or anyone who may benefit from it. Meanwhile, if you'd like to get in touch with us, follow us on Instagram at aform.studio. That is at aform.studio, and send us a DM. That's it. It's that easy. All right, guys, this has been awesome, and we'll catch you guys next week.